Jason stepped out of the taxi into the golden light of a summer evening, feeling both hopeful and alone in the new city that was now his home. He had arrived just a week ago, boxes still half unpacked in his small apartment. The air was warm and carried the scent of blossoms from a nearby park, reminding him faintly of the summers of his childhood. Though excited for a fresh start, he couldn't shake the subtle ache of loneliness that accompanied starting over in a place where nobody knew his name. In quiet moments like this, memories of childhood drifted back. He remembered long summer afternoons, chasing fireflies and reading comic books under the old oak tree behind his house. Those days had been brighter because of a little girl named Lily, who lived next door back then. They were inseparable for one magical summer, building forts out of cardboard and dreaming up adventures. When Lily's family moved away, Jason had been only 8, too young to understand why goodbyes could hurt so much. He still kept a faint memory of her shy smile, and the day they carved their initials into that oak tree as a promise to never forget each other, and how on her last afternoon in town, he'd given Lily a small handmade gift to remember him by. "Here, let me help you with that," the woman said, handing him the can. Jason felt a flush of embarrassment and gratitude as he accepted the can. "Thanks," he managed with a sheepish smile. "I thought I had it under control." "No worries, happens to the best of us," she laughed, then nodded toward the bags in his arms. "Moving in?" "Sort of. I moved in last week," Jason replied, shifting the groceries so he could reach the door handle. "Still settling in. I'm Jason, by the way." "Nice to meet you, Jason. I'm Elizabeth. I live just down the hall," she said as she helped hold the door open for him. Her name suited her, Jason thought, elegant and classic. They walked up the stairs together, and the silence between them was comfortable. He couldn't help but notice how the last light of sunset caught in her auburn hair, giving it a soft glow. At the second-floor landing, Elizabeth gestured to the left. "Well, home sweet home. I'm in 2C. You're in 2F, right?" she asked, glancing at the number on the key in his hand. "Yes, just at the end," he confirmed. He noticed she had a small potted plant outside her door, a cheerful splash of color in the dim hallway. "It's nice to meet a friendly face here. I haven't met many neighbors yet." "Likewise, welcome to the building." Elizabeth flashed him another warm smile as she moved toward her door. "If you need anything sugar, a toolkit, help finding the best pizza in town, just knock. I'm usually around in the evenings." Jason chuckled softly. "Thanks, I appreciate that." He balanced the grocery bags more securely in his arms. "I'll see you around then." "See you," she replied, opening her door. As she disappeared into her apartment, Jason realized he was still smiling. Back in his own apartment, surrounded by half-empty boxes and the hum of the refrigerator, Jason felt the loneliness of the new city ease just a little. Meeting Elizabeth had been a welcome surprise. There was something about her easy kindness and warmth that made the unfamiliar city feel a bit more like home. A few days later, Jason found himself knocking on Elizabeth's door, hoping he wasn't coming off as too eager. He remembered her offer to help find the best pizza in town and figured it was a good excuse to spend more time with his friendly neighbor. When she opened the door, barefoot and dressed in jeans and a comfortable t-shirt, she broke into an easy grin. "Hey, Jason," she greeted. "Everything okay?" "Oh, yes. I was just wondering." He suddenly felt a bit self-conscious, but pressed on. "Last week, you mentioned knowing a good pizza place. I was thinking of grabbing dinner there tonight. Would you like to come along? My treat, as a thank you for rescuing my soup can the other day." Elizabeth's eyes lit up. "That sounds great, actually. I was just debating what to do for dinner. Give me 5 minutes to get my shoes?" "Of course. Take your time," Jason replied, relief washing over him. True to her word, she emerged only minutes later, sneakers on and a light cardigan thrown over her shoulders. They walked out into the mild night and down the block to Angelo's Pizzeria, which Elizabeth swore had the best slices this side of the river. They settled into a cozy booth at the pizzeria, the red checkered tablecloth and the aroma of melting cheese lending the place a comforting charm. Over slices of margarita and pepperoni, they fell into easy conversation. "So, what brought you to the city?" Elizabeth asked, dipping her pizza crust in marinara sauce. "Work, I assume?" Jason nodded. "Yeah, I got a new job as a data analyst at a marketing firm here. It was a good opportunity. And I thought a change of scenery would be nice too." He took a sip of his soda and then added with a bashful smile, "I didn't realize how much I'd miss having familiar faces around though. Moving solo is an adventure." She gave a sympathetic smile. "I get that. I moved here 2 years ago, not knowing anyone. It was daunting at first, but now it feels like home." "What do you do?" he asked. "I teach 3rd grade at the elementary school a few blocks over," Elizabeth answered. "Never a dull moment with 8-year-olds. They're a handful, but I love them." Jason's face lit up. "Really? That's awesome. I bet you're a great teacher." He could easily picture her gentle patience guiding a room of kids. She chuckled. "I manage. I do love it. Kids at that age, they're so curious and honest. Some days I feel like I learn as much from them as they do from me. I remember having a really good 3rd grade teacher who made a big difference for me," Jason offered. "We moved when I was 9 and that was tough, but having supportive teachers helped, so I'm sure you make a difference for those kids." Elizabeth tilted her head curiously. "You moved as a kid too? Were you an army brat or just family relocation?" He shrugged, twirling his straw. "Not military, just my dad's job. Though I actually only moved once, when I was around 9. We went from a small town to a bigger city. Still in the same state, but it felt like a different world at the time." She nodded in understanding. "I moved when I was little as well. My family bounced around a bit because of my dad's work. By the time I was in middle school, we settled down, but I'd already lived in 3 different places. It was hard saying goodbye to friends, especially when you're too young to keep in touch properly." Her words resonated with him. Jason felt a pang of nostalgia, thinking of Lily. "Yeah, I know that feeling," he said quietly. And for a moment, his gaze drifted. Then he caught himself and offered her a smile. "But it looks like you turned out all right despite all the moving around." Elizabeth returned the smile warmly. "I'd like to think so. It helped that I learned to make friends quickly, though honestly, I'm a bit of a homebody these days. I like my routines, weekend hikes, Sunday morning pancakes at the diner, that sort of thing." Jason grinned. "I make pancakes every Sunday too. It's like the one thing I can cook without messing up." She laughed. "Looks like you have the start of your own routine then. Maybe we should have a pancake duel sometime." "You're on," he chuckled. He found himself relaxing more than he had in months. Talking with Elizabeth felt natural, like chatting with an old friend. In the back of his mind, a thought bubbled up. In another life, could she have been the kind of friend he'd hated to say goodbye to? As they walked home under the streetlights after dinner, Jason realized he hadn't thought about his loneliness all evening. Elizabeth's presence was enough to chase it away. They parted at their doors with lingering smiles, each already looking forward to the next time. In the weeks that followed, Jason and Elizabeth settled into a comfortable rhythm of friendship. True to their word, they held a pancake breakfast duel one Sunday, ultimately deciding that making pancakes together was more fun than declaring a winner. On other days, they explored the city's parks and hole-in-the-wall cafes. One Saturday, Elizabeth took Jason to her favorite hiking trail outside town. They spent the afternoon walking under towering pines, trading stories and laughter as sunlight danced through the leaves. With each day, Jason felt his affection for Elizabeth growing deeper. Her optimism and wit were infectious. Even on stressful days, she could make him laugh with a single wry comment or an exaggerated eye, roll about some minor mishap at school. She, in turn, grew fond of Jason's gentle humor and the thoughtful way he remembered the little things she mentioned, like how he'd show up at her door with a new book by her favorite author, or save her the last homemade blueberry pancake, because he knew she loved them. As summer turned to early autumn, the leaves in the neighborhood blushed crimson and gold. Jason realized he had never been happier in his adult life. The lonely ache that used to greet him each evening had been replaced by the warmth of knowing Elizabeth was just down the hall, ready to share a meal, a movie, or simply sit and talk for hours. Still, there were moments of uncertainty that fluttered in his chest. Were they just friends, or something more? Sometimes he caught her gazing at him thoughtfully when she thought he wasn't looking, or she'd brush her hand against his arm during a burst of laughter. Every time, his heart would skip, wondering if she felt it too. He often found himself wanting to tell her how he felt how her presence brightened his world, but a quiet fear held him back. They had only known each other a few months, and he didn't want to risk losing what they had by rushing things, so he savored each day, hoping that somehow the right moment would present itself. The right moment, however, came in an unexpected and unwelcome way. One crisp evening in early October, Elizabeth came over to Jason's apartment with takeout from their favorite Thai place. Jason noticed her smile was subdued, and her eyes looked troubled despite her efforts to act cheerful. Halfway through the meal, as they sat side by side on the couch with a movie paused in the background, Elizabeth drew a breath. "Jason, I have some news," she said softly, fiddling with the edge of a cushion. His stomach did a small flip. "What is it?" He tried to keep his voice calm, but he could sense something was off. She managed a tiny smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Do you remember me mentioning that I applied for a graduate program in education a while back?" He did remember. She had casually spoken about a master's program that would help her become a better teacher, but that was before they'd grown this close. "Yeah, I remember," Jason said carefully. Elizabeth swallowed. "Well, I got in. The program starts next month. It's at a university back east." Jason felt the words like a punch in his chest. "Back east," he repeated quietly, "thousands of miles away." He forced himself to nod, fighting the tightening in his throat. "Elizabeth, that's amazing. You work so hard for it. I'm really happy for you." She let out a breath that was almost a sigh of relief, but her eyes glistened. "Thank you. It is a good opportunity, but it means I'll be moving away at the end of the month." There it was, the reality hanging between them. A cool silence settled in the room. Jason stared at his half-eaten dinner, appetite gone. He wanted to tell her not to go, to say that she had become his world in these past months. But how could he? He had no claim on her life decisions, and he would never forgive himself if he stood in the way of her dream. He cleared his throat. "That's really soon." Elizabeth nodded, blinking back tears quickly. "I know. I'm sorry. I found out a few days ago and I've been thinking about how to tell you. I didn't want to bring it up, but I didn't want to just disappear on you either." Jason set aside the takeout container and gently touched her hand. "You don't have to apologize. This is huge for you. I'm glad you told me." He mustered a smile that he hoped hid the ache he felt. "Besides, a year isn't forever, right? Graduate programs fly by. And we'll still keep in touch. You can tell me all about your adventures back east." She turned her hand to squeeze his. "I'd like that," she whispered. Her face was a mixture of gratitude and something unsaid, perhaps regret, perhaps longing. In that fragile moment, both of them felt the weight of words, unspoken, hanging in the air. For the rest of the evening, they tried to act like nothing had changed. They finished the movie, sitting a careful few inches apart. When Elizabeth went back to her apartment that night, Jason closed the door and finally let his face fall into his hands, releasing the tears he'd been holding back. The final week of October arrived far sooner than either of them wanted. Elizabeth's apartment slowly emptied as she boxed up her life, preparing to ship most of her things back east. They still spent time together each day, but an unspoken melancholy underlay even their laughter. On Elizabeth's last evening in town, Jason offered to help her with any final packing. As he stepped into her apartment, he was struck by how hollow it felt. The walls were bare, and only a couple of suitcases by the door remained of all her belongings. Elizabeth was wrapping up some kitchen items in paper when he arrived. "Hey," she greeted softly. "Perfect timing. I could use an extra pair of hands to take down those last wall hooks." Jason managed a smile. "Sure thing." He grabbed a step stool and began to remove the adhesive hooks where her photos had hung. The silence was heavy, both of them avoiding the inevitable goodbye looming over them. As Jason finished and folded the step stool, something on a small side table caught his eye. It was a wooden star, about the size of his palm, with faded paint and slightly chipped edges. A sudden jolt of recognition shot through him. He knew that star. Heart-pounding, he picked up the wooden star gingerly. On the back, faintly, were two letters carved into the wood, J.L. His breath caught. It couldn't be. "Jason!" Elizabeth's voice came from behind him. He turned to face her, the star still in his hand. Her eyes widened in surprise. "Oh, you found my old keepsake." He could barely find his voice. "Where?" He cleared his throat, staring at her in disbelief. "Where did you get this?" She blinked, taken aback by the intensity of his tone. From my best friend when I was a kid." "Why?" His heart was hammering. "Your best friend? Named Jason?" he asked slowly, scarcely breathing. Elizabeth set down the stack of plates in her hands. Her face had gone pale. "I never told you that," she whispered. "How did you?" Jason turned the star over, showing her the faint J.L. "My initials and hers," he said unsteadily. "J and L. Jason and Lily." For a moment, Elizabeth just stared. He saw tears gather in her eyes as the realization dawned. "Jason," she breathed. You were my Jason. My neighbor. My Jay?" His vision blurred as well. Lily. It felt so natural to say that name to her. "I can't believe it. All this time, it was you." In 2 strides, she closed the distance between them, and he enveloped her in a tight embrace. Elizabeth Lily let out a soft sob against his shoulder. He wasn't sure if the tears on his cheek were hers or his own. All the years, all the distance, melted away as he held her. "I missed you," she cried softly. "I didn't even know it was you, but I missed you so much." Jason stroked her hair, his own tears falling freely now. "I missed you too. I never forgot you. I can't believe you're here. That we found each other again." She pulled back just enough to search his face, as if to confirm he was really, truly her childhood Jason. Her eyes were shining and red-rimmed, but she was smiling brighter than he had ever seen. "All those years I wondered what became of my best friend. And you were right here." She gave a wet laugh. "No wonder I felt so connected to you. Some part of me must have recognized you, even if my head didn't." Jason laughed through his tears, joy and relief flooding him. Fate had given them a second chance. He cupped her face gently. "You're not going alone, are you? Not again?" Elizabeth understood his real question. Her expression softened with a mix of happiness and determination. "No, I'm not going anywhere now." "But your program," he began, though his heart leapt at her words. She shook her head, smiling as tears spilled anew. "Some opportunities can wait, but finding you again." Her voice trembled. "Jason, I lost you once." "I'm not losing you again. We'll figure out another way for me to do school, or I'll apply next year. Right now, the only place I want to be is here, with you." A breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding whooshed out of him. He pressed his forehead to hers. You have no idea how happy that makes me. She gave a soft, hiccuping laugh. I think I have some idea. Jason gazed into her eyes, those same kind eyes he remembered from so long ago, now filled with the love he'd dreamed of. Elizabeth. Lily. I love you. The words came easily, finally free. Her face lit up with pure joy. I love you too, Jason. Saying his name like that, with all the layers of their shared past and present, felt like a homecoming. He kissed her then, a gentle, tender kiss that tasted of salty tears and sweet relief. It felt like the completion of something begun long ago, under an old oak tree. In that kiss was every emotion of their journey years of longing, months of companionship, and the sparkling promise of a future where they would never be separated again. When they finally parted, both of them were laughing through their sniffles. Jason thumbed away a tear on her cheek. So, looks like I don't have to say goodbye after all. Elizabeth exhaled in happy disbelief. I can't believe I was about to get on a plane tomorrow morning. What if we'd never realized? We would have eventually, Jason murmured, holding her close. But I'm glad it was tonight. His eyes fell on the wooden star he still held in his hand. He placed it gently in hers. This belongs to you. It's what brought us back together. She closed her fingers around the star, then placed her other hand over his. We brought us back together, she corrected softly. Fate just gave us a nudge. Outside the window, the first stars of evening had appeared, one of them shimmering especially bright. As they stood there wrapped in each other's arms, Jason felt a profound sense of peace. The little boy who had once carved initials into a tree and cried over a goodbye could finally rest easy. His dearest friend, his first love, was in his arms again, and he would never let her go.